Life's too short to drive boring cars.
The automotive industry's never been as hot as it is this year. Cars are selling like hotcakes. Prices are up, dealers are gouging, and you're finding it very difficult to find the right car. As a matter of fact, now a lot of dealers are scraping the bottom of the barrel. They're reaching out, buying customers' cars just so they can put used vehicles on their lots. And they're even trying to sell used vehicles that once you'd consider a disaster, they're painting a little lipstick on that pig, but at the end of the day, it's still a pig. And unfortunately, there's thousands of customers daily that are getting ripped off by shady dealers that just want to pull a rug over your eyes. Now, while there's many legitimate dealers that just want to do the right thing, the fact of the matter is this is the prime time for all those shady dealers to come out and use a whole host of different scams to mess you up and sell you a piece of junk. But guess what? I'm going to share a very comprehensive list with you guys just so you can go out armed with the knowledge so you don't get hooked by these shady dealers. Let's get into it now. So you're thumbing through the local paper or you're scrolling through the classifieds online and you come across some used vehicles that you're excited to go and look at. And a couple of them actually are advertised as showroom condition. You call up the dealer, you get excited. You're like, Jojo the circus boy, that sounds great, because you couldn't find one and there's very few of those out on the market right now. So you talk to the salesman, he says absolutely confirmed it's showroom condition. Then you get in your car, you grab the wife, you grab the kids, you truck on down to the dealer, they show you to the car and it's in the back 40, it's got a flat tire, the frame underneath is rusted out, even though the body looks good, the frame is rusted out. Or finally they grab the keys and you flip open the door and you'll find the seat bolster on the driver's side all cracked and worn. And you're thinking, this is not showroom shape. What on earth are you telling me? That's sadly a lot of tricks that these salesmen are trying to flip on you. Now, while you can see it in person, that's great, and you can check it out and say, decide for yourself. The point of the matter is you've wasted your time. And even more importantly, a lot of times, because vehicles are very hard to find, you're having to search outside of cities or across the country or nationwide. And a lot of times you put faith in what they're advertising. They're telling you that this is showroom shape, and then you put your money down and you process the transaction, and next thing you know, the vehicle shows up on a flatbed truck only to find out that it's in rough shape. Sadly, I have to say, car detailers are a very, very busy bunch right now because they're spending lots of time trying to doll up some of these crusty looking cars. The second point is shady dealers are taking advantage of consumers like you and I by covering up vehicles with major collision history or flood damage history. And the fact of the matter is, they're magicians nowadays. They can take the car down to a body shop, they can work magic, make the vehicle look almost as good as new, and in fact, often it does drive as good as new if the repair's done properly. But unfortunately, if they're not clear and upfront and honest about it, you could buy yourself a vehicle that has accident history, and what that ultimately results is in depreciation. You may not see it, but when maybe you decide to sell the car in 3 or 4 years from now, somebody else pulls a Carfax, they see that information, they're gonna nickel and dime you down now. As well, water damage. If it's been in a floodplain, definitely don't want to touch it. Water gets into electronics, fries it. It's very difficult to tell sometimes with vehicles that have been underwater, but look in sometimes the base of the seat rails, you'll find rust there. Sometimes you'll find residual water, or you'll see powdery residue around some of the electrical and the wires. Look up underneath the dash, under the footwell. Sometimes there's giveaways. It's not always obvious, but sometimes there are. Also, if vehicles often have been underwater, sometimes dealers will do their best to try to vacuum as much of that water out or pull the carpets. When a carpet dries after being drenched, the carpet has a bit of a rough, chalky texture to it. So feel that. It should feel soft and supple and nice original carpet. It has that crusty texture to it. Either it's been underwater or it's been severely detailed. One or the other does make you question it. And this unfortunately has even happened to me once. I bought a car. The salesperson actually said, yes, I have a Carfax. I looked at it. I reviewed it. Not super closely, but I looked at it. The serial number, the information, some of the registration, it was sort of spotty, but I took it for its worth and I went on that. I found out later that once I bought the car and I pulled a car proof, that it flushed out a bunch of accident history and damage, and that just absolutely destroyed me. So what I learned from that was the Carfax was an older one. Make sure if you're going to do a check on a vehicle, you pull a modern Carfax, you buy a Carfax today. So another little scam that I've seen sometimes is the dealers will actually advertise it and they'll claim it to be a well-maintained vehicle. Many of these vehicles are coming off of leases. Many of these vehicles are coming from across the country. Many of these vehicles have very little service history, and the fact of the matter is many of these dealers are lying about it. Again, as I've said, there's many very straight up dealers. Sadly, there's a lot of shady dealers that are going to say whatever it takes to get that sale. I even bought a car last year. I bought a Jaguar F-Type. Now, it's a great car. I even got the CPO warranty on it, which I would highly recommend, by the way. and the car checked out. Went through their 180-point check, and it was all good. I didn't have any concerns. It was straight. Pulled the car proof and Carfax. Everything was good. It was golden. But that didn't change the fact that I asked the dealer for service history, and that's where the car was originally sold and resold to me. So it spent its entire duration at that dealer through servicing. They would not share with me the information on the history of the servicing. I don't even care about the previous owner was, but they didn't want to give me the information on the service history. They just told me that your next service is due at X amount of miles, and this is what's due. Because of privacy rights, they won't even share that information a lot of times. The only way you're going to likely get any kind of service history is if you're buying a used vehicle from a private seller. And the fourth scam that some of these clowns will try to pull on you and me is by saying that these vehicles are mechanically perfect. Now everybody knows that engines and transmissions are the most expensive part of any vehicle. And they're so complex nowadays, you want to make sure you have a vehicle that runs right, not burning oil, there's no broken parts, and everything's running as it should. But a lot of times the claims are much bigger than the actual reality. They'll tell you it's perfect, we'll give you a guarantee, but what is a guarantee? There's no such thing as guarantees. You might have a chance if you have a certified pre-owned warranty through the dealer and you get an extension of the factory warranty, you have a good running vehicle. But outside of that, the word guarantee is just nonsense. So they'll do a lot of different scams. For example, they might wipe out engine codes. A lot of vehicles, sometimes, you'll drive it for a while, bing, an engine light comes on, and then you sort of, you can wipe it, and then it might go away for a while, it might come back 2 weeks later. I've actually seen people, I've had relatives like that. I personally have vehicles where I do a reset for a short time, it comes back a little while later. The shady dealers, not all dealers, but the shady ones will certainly use the OBD2 code readers and do a code reset to try to buy some time. They'll also not advertise some of the ugliness if there's a problem. And we've even personally had an experience. When I bought my BMW X5, I bought it used, second owners. We bought it from a dealer, from a Volkswagen dealer, who claimed it went through the whole 250-point inspection. What a bunch of baloney. These guys were clowns. We drove the vehicle away. We signed the deal. We liked the way it looked. It was great cosmetically. The vehicle ran well. Everything was perfect, right? Well, guess what? 2 weeks later, bing, we had the brake light come on. Then me being a slightly mechanical guy, I'm not shy to work on my own vehicles, I decided to pull off a wheel, have a quick look. Sure as shit. We actually had brakes that were worn right down to the nub. And they claimed that the brakes were good. It even said on there was a percentage. Could have blasted it, went nuclear with it. All I'm telling you is, don't take their word for it. An inspection at the dealer is just that. Their best interests are at heart. If you want the best course of action, ask if they have any issues with you taking that vehicle to another third-party independent shop. For example, I bought our BMW at a Volkswagen dealer. Ask them if they wouldn't mind you taking that car to a BMW dealer, one of the dealers in the city. That way you can get a good, honest review. Not that the BMW dealer is 100% honest all of the time either. However, because it's not their vehicle, they don't have direct vested interest, and you're likely to get a more independent analysis. So the next one has to do the test drive. So you're taking the vehicle out for a test drive. You like what you see. It sounds like it's running okay. So you decide, yeah, let's take this vehicle out for a drive. The salesperson grabs the keys and off you go. Then you're driving along and you notice there's a little shimmy when you hit 80 kilometers an hour. All of a sudden there's a little bit of a weird noise. Or you hit the brakes and all of a sudden there's a screech. Or there's a weird shift in the transmission. There's something all of a sudden, there was a juddering or a very hard abrasive shift for, one off. And you wonder to yourself, what was that? So you ask the sales guy, is that normal? That doesn't seem... And then the sales guy says, oh, of course, yeah, that's absolutely normal. There's nothing wrong here. The vehicle's been through the shop. It's had its full inspection done. And for peace of mind, can I get your phone number? What I'll do is I'll talk to the shop foreman and I'll call you back and I'll find out if he has any concerns. Of course, lo and behold, the call never comes. Or if you call the dealer back to find out about it, there's still a scramble, there's still a little bit of chaos, and now there's a dealer trying to put a little urgency. Oh, by the way, we have another couple that's kind of interested. Just curious if you were still interested in that vehicle, if you want to put some money down to secure it. So they'll throw all kinds of scramble in there, get you confused, and you'll forget about your question in the first place, and you sign the paperwork, and away you go off into the sunset, buying a vehicle that potentially has thousands of dollars of repair behind it. So the next one is a big one, and it's one that a lot of dealers are taking advantage of now. I'll tell you right now, For example, I saw a vehicle a while back at one of our local dealers. They had a Hummer H2. It was rusted out. It had a lot of spotty rust. The vehicle clearly was neglected, abused, and it just didn't look very good. However, it's interesting. I went away. I came back to the dealer about 2 months later. That same vehicle was sitting on the lot, same color, same everything. It had nice armor all tires, and all of a sudden I didn't see any rust anywhere. I'm thinking to myself, was that the same vehicle? And then I checked a couple of detail points on it, and I know there's a couple of accessories. It, in fact, was the same vehicle. So this dealer took that, sent it off to the body shop, had a bunch of rust repair done, and brought it back, and now selling it, representing it as something super clean. Well, that's the extreme end, but I'm talking about detailing. And of course, the big issue now is a lot of dealers are using their detailing department or sending their vehicles out to have detailers address some of these little issues that can just spruce a vehicle up. And it's not just vacuuming the carpet. It's not just cleaning the glass. I mean, I'm talking about they're spray bombing all the black. They're actually spray bombing the carpet. There's actually carpet and fabric spray that you can buy. So they're spray bombing the carpet. They're spray bombing the seats to get a nice consistent texture. They're spray bombing all kinds of parts. I saw a vehicle recently, a GM, I believe it was a Yukon, that absolutely looked beautiful all the way around. Then I looked underneath and the whole frame was rusty. I could see even some of the mechanical components were rusting out. Clearly it was coming from somewhere down east, obviously in the salt belt somewhere, but the body likely had some rust on it. However, they did a great job of tidying up the top end, but it wasn't until you stuffed your head underneath that you're able to see some of the crust and corruption. So there's a lot of this detailing that's going on. Nothing that a $15 can of spray paint can't fix up, right? Doesn't mean you're not getting a piece of junk. Remember the old adage, you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig? That's right. This is it. And with all of that said, be sure to check out that video. Great, popular video, all about the things you do not want to tell a car salesman. Hope to see you real soon. Catch you then. Bye-bye.